All right, so we're just gonna, because it's very funny. I really don't like to speak. I think I've improved, haven't I, Sean? Sean was with me the first time I ever spoke, and I didn't do a very good job. We had to conduct it like an interview. But I always ask my very dear friend, Mike Crispy, to come and help me with all of my events because he's such an outstanding speaker. He's so loyal. He's so supportive. He does everything he can to see us succeed. And I'm very grateful that he made the trip here. And I want to wrap up my part so we can really turn the show over to him because he's so phenomenal, and I want you to see it. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So I brought up 3 of our J6ers, and I wish I could have all the J6ers speak, but it's hard. We're pressed for time, and again, I know that these 3 will represent J6 very well, and there's tons of tables over there, and I really encourage you when we're up and we're mingling, please get to know them and talk to them because it blows your mind when you hear these stories. And so I'm going to ask Tim and Will and Enrique to come up, and they're going to have 3 minutes each, and then we're going to move on. So please, guys, come on up.
I always get a heads up. Tim, you're going to have to talk. You're going to have to talk whether you like it or not. Tim. And I never prepare statements because I genuinely think speeches are insincere. But I did bring a few notes. Let's just start with this. The liberation, like the high, the ecstasy of the election and the pardons and all the tweets. We're still not off that high. We're still riding that. There's like the honeymoon sensation with President Trump back in, and I think we're all extremely grateful to have him. But I'm always remembered as a history nerd of a quote attributed to Jefferson, which is that when the people fear the government, there's tyranny, but when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And we all see President Trump making a lot of strides. He's making a lot of moves, and a lot of truth, especially recently, has come to light in relation to January 6th and the FBI's involvement. But I do think that probably most people in this room and most people in America are still very afraid of the government in spite of President Trump's decisions, his victory. And the truth is that it's so much deeper than just who's in the White House. And so I want to just go through a few things. We have a lot of entrapment schemes that go on against American citizens. It didn't start with January 6th. It's probably not going to stop with January 6th. I want to first acknowledge, actually, before J6, that people were entrapped into the fake kidnapping plot of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I want to acknowledge the FBI was behind that nonsense fake plot, and there are still men who are rotting in prison because of it, and nobody seems to care and nothing's being done about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to acknowledge is that the vast majority of J6 defendants have been pardoned, and not everybody has. There are still members of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers who have not been pardoned. They were commuted, and we're all extremely grateful for that. But there are still loose ends with January 6th. Because of how malicious and disgusting the Department of Justice treated American citizens, there are all sorts of loose ends. There are people who were raided, and because of it, they have extra charges that have nothing to do with their conduct related to January 6th, and now they're still felons because of it. You have people who are currently incarcerated still for January 6th. You have people who are out on release pending appeals who are probably going to have to go back, and nothing's being done about it to my knowledge. You have people who are free now, but they still have felonies. They're still considered felons. Maybe some of them have state charges even as a result of it, and they can't hold jobs, and they keep getting fired. You have people here who worked very hard defending their cases, fighting their cases, and they've identified federal informants who are at the Capitol. They've identified federal agents, and they're actually fighting the DOJ currently to keep their evidence. Probably because they're worried about more feds getting identified. You have people who are still fighting their cases in different ways, and it just didn't end on Inauguration Day in January of 2025. So I just want to acknowledge President Trump. President Trump has reunited families, but there's still work that needs to be done. President Trump has freed men and women from captivity, but there's still work that needs to be done. People have lost their lives literally. People have taken their lives. People's lives have been destroyed. And it would be a disservice if I came up here at this point after the victories we've had if I didn't acknowledge that there are still casualties of January 6th, and it has not all been addressed. So with that, I want to let two other men who have really been through the ringer but have still stuck it out, I want to let them speak as well, because they can speak better than I can, I'm sure. Thank you very much for being here.